Previously on 58 Keys, I've shown you how spaces on the Mac can give you different things on your screen. It can help you out. This time I want you to see something a little similar on the iPad and on my iPad Pro here. I like this very much. This is how you can usefully work with 2 or 3 or more iPad apps simultaneously. You're near enough. This is multitasking on the iPad and on the iPad Pro. It's called split view and it's called slide over, 2 things that work together. You may already know some or both or all of it, but I've written about it a lot in a couple of articles. I've used it a lot, and still I find it just slightly confusing enough that really I'm making this video as much for me as I am for you. I'm William Gallagher, and this 58 Keys is, as ever, about making iPads and iPhones and Macs more useful for us as writers. So actually, let me tell you now that I most often use this feature, we're going to see, in meetings at the Writers Guild. I'm Deputy Chair of the Writers Guild of Great Britain. So I'll be making notes on our agenda on one half of the screen. I'll have the latest, financial spreadsheets open on the other side of the screen. And I'll also be adding any tasks I get during the meeting to my OmniFocus to-do app. And between us, they're long meetings. I'm usually also waiting for something to come over on email. So I will take a peek at that. Take a peek at email from time to time in the tea breaks. I'm going to show you this on my iPad, which it's important to know is an original 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and you'll see why in a while. What I'm going to show you certainly works on all iPad Pro models. It should work on all modern iPads, or most of it will. If your iPad's less than 3 years old. The thing is, watch this, try it on your iPad. If it works, off you pop. First up, slide over. This is the way to have one app on the screen, take a peek at the second. So this is the front screen of my iPad Pro. Please notice the dock. For this, you need apps that are in the dock. And in case you haven't fiddled with this before, everything to the left of this slim line here are apps that I have chosen to put in the dock. The ones I use a lot, I've positively chosen to put them there. The 3, it's always 3, to this side are the 3 most recent apps I've used that are not in the dock. Okay, and it is significant because you need to use an app that's in the dock. Let me give you an example. Let's go into Safari in the New York Times. New York Times. Let's say, I actually am a fan of New York. Let's say I want to have a look at a map at New York. You gently swipe up from the very, very bottom to get your dock back in the middle of an app. Now press and hold on the one you want and ignore that pop-up window. Just drag the app somewhere to the middle of the screen and let go. And so now this is slide over. I wanted New York because I've obviously searched for it recently. There we go. New York, Manhattan Island. All very nice. Looked it up, seen whatever it is I wanted to check, and just see this line here. Swipe, got rid of it. Oh, I want it back. I'm acting. Look at that. Side, move around. Do you like? Get rid of it again. And that is slide over. How useful is that? Except, no, it's more useful than that. Let's do that docky thing again. Docky thing. Here's Apple Notes. Let me do the same thing. Press and hold on there. Ignore the pop-up. And just get that into the middle of the screen. And now, well, actually, this is Apple Notes. You might find this more obviously immediately useful. I can be working on something, think I've got to make a note, slide in, make a note, get rid of it, slide it back when I want, all that sort of stuff, and look up things. This is actually a reference folder I have for the 58 Keys show. Done, in, swipe, out, accept. Let me bring that back. And now you see this black bar at the bottom. Apple Music. You didn't even notice that I had Apple Music open in slide over because frankly neither did I. I'd forgotten that I did that last time I was using this. I was expecting to see maps. Here's the thing, that you can have as many of these as you want. Not every app will work with it, but pretty much everyone will, and you can just slide between any. This is what I've been listening to most often. I've been following this woman, I can't pronounce her name, for 10 years now. Just gorgeous new album. So I'll leave that on screen while you write down a name. Okay, and that's in Apple Music for it. With all of these things, actually even music is a good example, isn't it? You could be working on something, swipe across to pick something, swipe back and carry on working. That's the point of slide over, isn't it? Bring it in, do something, get rid of it, and then carry on with your reading, your work, whatever you're doing. One last thing about that though, that black bar that lets you swipe between things, if you press and hold on it and drag it up, you now see, or in my case 3, it's however many apps you've got, and you can flick to get rid of one of them. That doesn't close the app, it doesn't delete anything, it just takes it out of slide over. And so now we're back to having nothing at all. That's slide over, and that works on any iPad going, probably. I think give it a go. You can see how useful that can be. You can possibly also see how fiddly it can be. I had trouble with the dock there. You have to get used to just where to swipe and just where to tap, but you do. And I will also tell you, one of my problems is that this iPad Pro of mine is struggling. It's 5 years old, and there are actually patches on the glass where it doesn't respond to taps. In fact, I had to turn it round this way for slide over to even work at all. Okay, you should find fewer problems. Anyway, but we're not done though. While that is slide over, there is also split view. Please watch this very closely because it starts out looking exactly the same. So now we bring up the dock, there's maps, press and hold on it, and we drag up. Now so far, this is exactly what we did with slide over. And if I let go now, slide over happens again. But let's just not release it yet. Let's drag it to the side. You see what happens now if I let go? The two apps get, by default, half and half of the screen each. Now, because of my screen problems, I can only drag to the right. You should be able to also drag equally to the left. You go either side, whatever suits you. Definitely on all pads, including mine, the default is this half and half thing. Now, I mentioned that this is a 12.9-inch iPad and that this is relevant. It's relevant because actually, this is pretty much the same as having two of the older style iPads side by side, the original 9.7-inch screen. They're bigger now with 10.2 and 11 inches and things, but the original one, the iPad, it was pretty much this. So it is pretty much like having two iPads side by side, except they don't have to be equal like this. You see the thick black divider line here, which we'll come back to in a second, it does something else. If I grab and hold on there, I can make it split like this, 1/4 and 3/4. I'll just go the other way. Either app can be, what, 1/4, a half, or 3/4, or I suppose the full screen. In fact, actually, the way you get rid of this to come back out of it, to come back to having just one app, is you do full screen like that. That is split view, but there's something else about split view I want to show you very quickly, and it'll just take me a second to set it up. Give me one moment. Thanks. Right, so you'll see what I did in a second. Right in front of you now, we're back to Safari, half screen, New York Times, Apple Maps, New York, half screen, all that stuff. If I yet again do the swipey up thing with the dock, but this time I just kind of do a bit more. It doesn't always work. There we go. I swiped up a bit more, and now if you look at these apps here, that's BBC News, that's a full screen Safari I was using, the App Store, who knows what was in there for, it's a game, Sudoku. This is a filming thing I use. These are the two things I want you to concentrate on, these two here. I think they look a bit familiar. There's the one we know, Safari and Maps, and if I go back into this, and here's another one, Apple Music and Apple Notes. Actually, let's see what happens if I replace Apple Notes with Safari and we go to BBC News. Okay. Now if I come back out of this and I swipe up, here, Safari and Apple Maps. Here, Safari and Apple Music. So you can pair up apps for different types of work, and you can have as many of them as you like. Not all apps will work like this. Certainly all of Apple's do. That's why I've mostly been using Apple stuff to show you. But all of it will, most of it will tend to work like this, and you can obviously see the advantage. One small thing, since I've been doing that thing with Safari, let me get rid of this. Remember, to get rid of a split like this, you swipe out like that. Here we are in Safari, and let's open up a new tab in, well, actually there's New York Times, we'll go for that. If I press and hold on this tab, now Safari lets me have multiple things working. Last thing, well, this is maybe one of the things I find confusing about it. There's so many little fiddly options, and they all work by themselves. It's just, and then not all of them work on all iPads, but then you can use them in combination. And I think ultimately it's the combination that makes this useful. I will tell you, I like using one app at a time on an iPad. It feels right somehow. I like the fact that when you pick up an iPad to read a book, it's a book. When you pick it up to read maps, it's a map. I like that. That makes me forget that I'm using a device. I'm using whatever it is I'm reading or working on. iPads like this, large screen ones, small screen ones, they're all really useful, not for themselves, but for what they let you do, of course. I mentioned the Writers Guild meetings though, and I have a few others like it, but the Writers Guild meetings, they tend to have a lot going on and they're also quite long. So what I tend to do is, this is when I deploy everything. And let me show you what I mean by everything. It is slide over and split view together, but in this way. Notice here we have this, you're used to this now, this is split view. I can also do, let's bring up Apple Music. Now, I think you know what's going to happen with this first, but let me show you. If I drag this to one side, you see how it's grayed out Apple Maps. If I let go now, Apple Maps is replaced by music. So I end up with Safari and music. Or if I go over here, I end up with music and maps. Now, I want to go in the middle. I said this dividing line is significant. If you aim on that dividing line and then let go, I have Safari, I have Apple Maps, I have Apple Music. Now on my iPad, you can see already there's quite a significant thing going on here in that only Apple Music is live, if you like. The rest are dimmed out. I have to get rid of that to come back to these. I think on some newer iPads it all works, but I don't mind this because I like the fact that when I slide something over, my focus is on that. I've come to choose some music, I've come to look something up, I've come to add a task to something, I've come to add a note to it. I've come, who knows, to check out what else could there possibly be. Well, I wonder if my game works. I don't know, apparently not. Here I am, I can just slide over and make a note about something. I can slide over and choose some music, and then I can go back to the work I'm working on. So that works for me. I like that. I think that's useful and interesting. Just occasionally, I would like it so that I can have two of them live, so that I can better read what I'm seeing on this side and make a note about it on here. But I'll settle for what we've got, which is quite nice. 3 apps at once, all of them useful, all of them working in any combination you like. Slide over and split view on the iPad and iPad Pro. You can see the value. I can see the value. I will tell you that I have to train myself to remember that this is even there. I think it's 8 or 9 years of being used to one app at a time. Just give it a go on your iPad and see what you think. That's it for 58 keys this time. Thank you for watching. Please do, you know, that YouTubey thing of subscribing. That is a real help to me. But take care of yourself, okay? And I'll see you soon.